Hello everybody, this is Isku from Japan Gaming, and welcome to another Magic Duels gameplay video. Today we're going to look at another pretty fun deck, the Sacrifice deck, which is all about sacrificing creatures, but actually we're going to be sacrificing the opponent's creatures. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list, and then we'll have some games and a two-headed giant round as well. So first we have Sanitarium Skeleton, who's been in the room a bit too long. Has a lot of good recursion. Then we have the famous Goblin Arsonist, classic creature, good to sacrifice. Here we have a cheap enchantment that's good for sacrificing things if you don't have a sacrifice outlet out on the field. Bone Splinters is a nice cheap way to kill a creature. Kill two creatures, actually, both of which the opponent owns, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. The Carrier Thrall, when it's sacrificed, or when it dies, we get a 1/1 Scion, so there's good value there. Shadows of the Past, even though there's only one, is actually really good. If you're mana flooding, you can use it as a drain, and it's also a good scry card. We have, of course, got Liliana in the deck, and she can transform into the Defiant Necromancer, which is pretty much game winning if you can get her emblem down, the -8. Fleshbrag Marauder is another good zombie sacrifice creature. The Bloodflow Connoisseur is a vampire, but at any time we can sacrifice something and make it bigger. The Husk is probably the best sacrifice outlet in the deck, the Nantuko Husk. Anytime we can sacrifice something and it buffs it until end of turn. And what's nice is we can do that at instant speed. This is a red-black deck, so we've got Chandra in here too. Why not? She can be game-ending by herself. Read the Bones for a little bit of card draw. It's a little bit of life loss, sadly, but it can help set up things if you're having trouble. And then we've got our red cards. These are all the steal cards. We're going to be stealing the opponent's creatures, and that's sort of the point of this deck. We're going to be gaining control of them, and then usually, like Act of Treason, the creature will go back to its controller at the end of turn, but we're not going to let that happen. We're going to be sacrificing them. Gravedigger's there just to get something back that's important if you've lost it. Pia and Kiran Nilar are pretty good at putting a bunch of sacrifice fodder in. The Victor is another way to steal a creature from the opponent. And it could put a body in play. It's a little expensive, so I'm only running one. Of course, Traitorous Instinct. This is another one of those steal opponent's creature cards. And then a nice explosive finisher is Chandra's Ignition, which is pretty much a one-sided board wipe, technically, and a one-sided win. You can pretty easily win the game with this, and I'll show you how it works. And the mana base, we've got 8 swamps, 8 mountains, and the dual lands, and then a couple of Westvale Abbeys, just because, it's always a good land, and there are some situations where you'll have lots of tokens that you can sacrifice to it to transform it into the Ormondal, which can also be a finisher. So yeah, let's check this deck out and see how it works. Unlike a lot of sacrifice decks, this one is about stealing the opponent's creatures and then sacrificing them to your advantage, instead of actually, a typical sacrifice deck, making lots of tokens, sacrificing your own creatures for value. This is more about sacrificing the opponent's creatures for value, which is even better. So we got a pretty good opening hand here. It's nice to have either the Husk or this Vampire in your opening hand. I kind of wish I had a 2-drop, but I have one of the 3 mana Treacherous Instinct capture cards. So it's always good to have one of those and then one of your sacrifice outlets in the opening hand. And then you should be good to go. So I was thinking of playing the Bloodflow Connoisseur, but it's a 1/1 for 3 mana and he could attack past it. So we'll go ahead and start with Lilia, even though, or Liliana, I should say, even though she's kind of a, she's always got a target on her head because she's such a valuable creature, but that way I can hold off some attacks here. There isn't a whole lot of life gain in the deck except for maybe Liliana. So Bone Splinters we'll be using by when for, you know, perhaps the opponent plays 2 creatures. We'll steal one of his creatures, attack his face with it, and then we'll destroy his second creature and sacrifice the one we stole. So it's a 2-for-1. For only 1 mana, you destroy 2 of the opponent's creatures, and it only costs you 1 mana to do that. So here we go. We'll demonstrate here with Act of Treason. We'll steal his 2/2, go to attackers, and he's going to tap Liliana down again. That's okay. We'll go ahead and attack his face. We'll go ahead and exert this. Now remember, when you steal an opponent's creature, it goes back to his hand at the end of turn. That's why we have all these sacrifice outlets. I could use Bone Splinters, but I'm just going to use my vampire here. Sacrifice his creature, make my vampire bigger, and transform Liliana in the process here. But I could have used Bone Splinters to kill his 1/2 also. So before the end of turn, you basically just want to sacrifice the opponent's creature that you stole before it goes back to the opponent's board. And there we go. We got another great creature we can steal. We can steal that 4/4 from him. I'm going to go ahead and keep this land in my hand. So we'll just attack with everything here. We'll go ahead and exert his creature that we stole. Using his exert effects on us. He's going to chump block, huh? Okay. Well, not only does he lose his creature, he's going to lose his other creature before he gets it back. So we just sacrifice his creature, and yeah, I'm going to discard this land. Pia and Kiran Nilar are actually pretty good because it makes 3 creatures when it enters, the 2 Thopters. But yeah, you can see this, I can activate this sacrifice thing at any time on this 3/3 vampire, which is what makes it incredibly useful. It doesn't cost mana, you don't have to tap the creature at all. And you can sacrifice things at instant speed to make her bigger. And we'll force him to discard his Censor. And I'm okay trading off this 2/2 zombie. Oh, he's just gonna chump block my 3/3, huh? Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty fun. You just you steal one of the opponent's creatures, you sacrifice it for your own benefit, and then he doesn't get it back at end of turn. And you get to attack your opponent with his own creature. So it's a pretty cruel combination. And we happen to draw both of our planeswalkers, but hey, I'm going to go for the Liliana emblem here, since we really rarely get to see that. And yeah, with the emblem out there, the game is pretty much over, but hey, we'll go ahead and keep putting the pressure on. Wow, he's still just chumping my 3/3, huh? And any creature that dies comes back at the end of turn as our own. That's what the Liliana emblem does, if you're wondering. So we stole his creature, and once again we can sacrifice it. If we want, we can infinitely sacrifice it, and it'll keep coming back as our own every single turn. So with the Liliana emblem out there, you can basically sacrifice everything you have, and it'll all come back at the end of turn, and you can just make this vampire ridiculously big. So we'll use the opponent's ability against him. This 3/3 is unblockable. And ping his face. There's lots of whatever we can do here. I can just sacrifice everything and make my vampire a nice big creature. But we'll just go ahead and go all out here. Okay, so he's going to block this. Well, I can easily save it by sacrificing something. So that's why I had these 1/1 Thopters are good to sacrifice. And as you can see, if I sacrifice Pia, she'll come back at the end of turn, but hey, we won. I could have sacrificed every attacking creature there, and then they all would have come back end of turn. So Pia would have been back, and she would have made 2 more Thopters. So you could have sacrificed all the Thopters, and his creature would have come back as our own too. So yeah, it was pretty much one-sided there. On to the next one. Wow, I'm fighting an opponent that looks just like me. My clone. This hand is super risky. You know what, I'm going to keep it just for an experiment because I have 2 of my... I mean, everything's good except for the lands. And I did have a single mana play there, but I've got 2 of my steel cards as well as 2 sacrifice outlets and the skeleton. And the skeleton is amazing in this deck. I'll try to show him off. But hopefully I can draw 1 red source here. Or 1 black source, and then we are golden. Also, if I can get the 2-drop, great. Gotta discard something here. I already have the husk as a discard outlet. The husk is actually probably better than the vampire. Even though the vampire kind of gets permanent counters, the husk is actually a little bit more flexible. Yeah, and I was afraid of that. I'm not drawing my single land that I need. But as soon as I do, we can just start stealing his creatures. Okay. So I've already got 2 capture cards, so I probably won't need the creature. I'm taking some damage here though, so yeah, keeping that hand was probably a bad decision just because it had 1 land in it, but everything else was good. So okay, there we go. So you want to go ahead and get your sacrifice outlet out first, and the husk, the Nantuko husk, is awesome. It's just like the vampire. You can trigger its ability at any time you want. Doesn't tap, doesn't cost mana or anything like that. You can just do it whenever you want. So I can actually block both of these and take no damage, and then I'll sacrifice the skeleton and kill one of his 2/2s. And then I can bring the skeleton back from the graveyard. But yeah, maybe this turn I'll steal something. The The 4/4 is not going to be a 4/4 when I get it on my side, of course. But yeah, let's go ahead and attack him with his own creature. Put the pressure on, and then make sure to sacrifice his own creature before the end of turn. If you steal like a 1/1, it's actually better to sacrifice it before damage, because you'll do more damage, because the husk will become a 4/4, and you'll actually do 1 extra point of damage. But there the creature was a 3/2, so I did more damage by attacking with it. Okay, good. Lands are good. So this time I'll use Traitorous Instinct. I mean, I'm taking 3 each turn, so it's not too bad. So we'll just keep putting on the pressure here, I think. And we'll sacrifice his creature after it's done its job. Okay, so he is being aggressive. Once again, I would say if you were the person playing across from me, do not attack with those creatures, because that's just way too aggressive. Technically I could win this turn if I had the right hand, and without blockers, he would be toast. So that attack was just way too aggressive. But he also did use ribbons. Cut 2 ribbons on me, so he drained me for 4. But I think we're still in good shape. Got some of my sacrifice fodder down, and this, once again, this skeleton, you can just keep bringing it back from the graveyard over and over again, and keep sacrificing it over and over again. See, now he's holding back, but yeah, technically last turn his attack was too aggressive, especially if you're under 10 life. That sort of attack is just way too aggressive. So you can sacrifice the Goblin Arsonist and deal 1 damage to anything. And you can attack with this 2/2 pretty much unopposed all the time, because if he decides to block it, you can just sacrifice something and it's a blowout on his side. And I can bring that skeleton back at any time. Well, it's a pretty good 1/1 blocker. It's kind of a pain, actually, because of my... Oh, hey, well... Let's bring back our skeleton. Put him back on the field. Sadly, it costs 3 mana to bring him back, and then another mana to play it. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have a good attack into this thing. Well, we'll go ahead. Okay, so he is going to block the 2/2, huh? Okay. I was thinking he was going to take out the 3/1. So we'll just make ourselves bigger. The -1/-1 counter won't kill me. So I was going to sacrifice the 3/1 if he was going to take that, but he didn't. And we pretty much have Fatal on board here. And a Bone Splinters, just in case he plays something else. But yeah, let's give him one more turn. I always like to see what the opponent would do if he had an extra turn to live. And it looks like he's given up, so... Alright, so we'll go ahead and finish this. Let me bring the skeleton back. I just kind of wanted to show off the strategy, show how it works. And that's why the Sanitarium Skeleton is great. And we can just ping his face to win here with Chandra. And there we go, we defeated our evil clone. Could have ended that one in a number of ways also. Alright, let's do one more, showing the deck off one more time, and then we'll go ahead and do a two-headed giant round. This hand doesn't have any red mana, but I've got a bunch of black cards and the skeleton and Shadows of the Past, so I decided I would keep. It just needs one red mana and we're probably good to go. You need double red for a lot of these, some of these red cards. There's more black than there is red, but yeah, 2 of each is the best. But once again, this is a 2-color deck because the mana fixing is way more difficult in this format, and so a 2-color deck is probably the best. Decisions. I don't think I'll be casting Chandra this game because I need 2 reds, and Pia is probably just better to keep. Well, there's one of them. Suppose I can kill his 2/2 with bone splinters, but it's not really a big threat. Oh, well, now it is. So maybe I will sacrifice to get rid of that. Okay, good. Well, we drew another skeleton, so hey, that works. All the more skeletons, the better. Let's go ahead and attack first, and then we'll sacrifice our skeleton and get rid of his 3/3. It would have been better if I could steal his 3/3. And yeah, we'll keep that on top. So the scry from Shadows of the Past is quite nice, because usually you're killing 2 creatures each time, so you get to scry twice. But I'm going to keep the red on top so I can play Pia. Drake Haven, that can be a pain to deal with. We'll go ahead and get Pia going here. And once again, like in this deck, you know, if your hand is empty, you can use all your mana to bring those skeletons back from the grave. And just keep sacrificing them. And with Shadows of the Past out there, you can also drain the opponent to death if you've got no other uses for your mana. It's a little expensive of an ability. Okay, so we should have enough. Bring our skeleton back from the graveyard. Costs 3, and we can play it. And I can use Bone Splinters and get rid of his 4/4. And we'll just sacrifice. I don't need the husk. Well, yeah, that's a tough choice because I don't have any sacrifice. And I don't think I need any. Well, the card draw would have been good too, but I actually want to draw one of my steel effects maybe. Or next turn I'll just bring the skeleton back from the graveyard. Good use of the mana. Oh good, we get to discard nothing. However, he's going to make a flyer there. Gravedigger. I don't really have anything of value to get back except the skeleton, so that's kind of a waste of the Gravedigger, to be honest. Usually you want to keep it for, you know, Liliana or a much more valuable creature that's in the graveyard. And I don't mind if this trades off. Thrall coming up, huh? I think I want... There we go. Yeah, I want some of my stealing effects. And I can use the Gravedigger to get Pia back. And play it again and get 2 more Thopters. I'm fine taking 2, probably. It's gonna make another 2/2, huh? Yeah, that can get out of hand. Okay, now I got one of my steal effects for a big, dangerous creature if it shows up. I usually like to have one of my traitorous instincts or something in my hand. Oh, he's gonna make it. Well, got an army of 2/2s to deal with here now. So I'll go ahead and take out one of them here, because I'm gonna get more Thopters here in a minute. So I'm gonna keep the husk on top this time. I get to scry 3 times. Wow, another Drake Haven. That's getting a little scary. Yeah, I want to get the husk out here as soon as possible because that way I can start stealing his creatures and sacrificing them. Well, yeah, this deck can struggle a little bit against flyers because the only anti-flying we have is Pia and Kirin making the flying Thopters pretty much. Or, of course, just stealing his flying creatures, which is usually a better way to do it. Just steal one of his flyers, attack him with his own flyer, and then sacrifice it. Ooh, a god. Indestructible god. Alright, we got more of our stealing effects, so we're good to go here. So hey, why don't we just steal his indestructible menace god? That should be fun, right? Another way to get rid of indestructible creatures. Now this god can't attack unless you sacrifice something, so I'm going to sacrifice one of my own zombies, and then the god can attack. And yeah, he's dead. But at the end of turn I could just sacrifice his god. In fact, I might as well sacrifice this 1/1 to put some more damage in. But yeah, at the end of the turn, you can just choose to actually sacrifice that god, and then the indestructible god is gone and out of your way. Alright, so this is a lot of fun to play, honestly. I recommend trying this deck out. And here we go, let's try it out with my good buddy Wild Boar in a 2-headed giant match. So lots of creatures to steal from your opponent in 2-headed giant. So if you get the right draw, this deck can be pretty good in 2-headed giant. It's really good about controlling the board. I don't have any steal effects in my opening hand, but this is a pretty good hand with 3 mana, and I've got all the colors I need, so. So we'll get started with some of my sacrifice fodder, and let's see, it looks like Wild Boar is playing the zombie deck. He's kind of deciding which color of mana he wants to fetch with Evolving Wilds. He's going to get a blue, huh? So it looks like he's playing the blue, black, and white zombie deck. It's got some white and also blue zombies, like the prized amalgam classic zombie. So yeah, the zombie deck is always fun to play in 2-headed giant also. So let me get my Thrall out here. I didn't really get to show the Thrall off yet, but it's good sacrifice fodder. or just good for attacking because it gets replaced by a 1/1 Scion that you can use as a mana source. It's always nice to have a creature that replaces itself with a token. And then of course I've got the Sanitarium Skeleton in my hand here too, and that's just always good to have. Just a nice chump blocker or sacrifice fodder that you can bring back at any time and just replay it. Just keeps coming back. So he doesn't really have any creatures, so I'm going to put the pressure on here. I'm not sure what Wild Boar is deciding on here. He might be keeping up Fatal Push. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to hold up Fatal Push for a small creature rather than playing the Crypt Breaker. Crypt Breaker, as everybody knows, is a really valuable zombie. So sometimes you don't want to play it out unless you've got some other zombies and you can get nice value from the Crypt Breaker, because it is a high priority target for the opponent. The opponent definitely likes to get rid of it because it's the zombie deck's card advantage, and it can produce zombie tokens at will, so Crypt Breaker is pretty awesome. So I'll get my sacrifice outlet out here. I got nothing to get back with the Gravedigger, and Wild Boar is just going to put the Amalgam out there. The Amalgam's good in the graveyard, of course, because it comes back. And I'm fine trading this 2/1 off. Opponent's going to cycle a card. A little scary there, but it didn't do anything. But yeah, I'm happy to make this trade. Let's see if he is thinking about that block. Guess not. Probably not the best block for the opponent. 3/2 Menace is probably better for him to keep. But yeah, I've got a pretty good board state here, and if anything dies I can bring it back with the Gravedigger. And I've got Chandra's Ignition here, which I hope I can show off how it can pretty much just end the game. It does damage equal to a creature's power that you target to all other creatures and all other opponents. So keep that in mind. The Ignition does it to opponents, and of course in Two-Headed Giant we have 2 opponents, and so that effect is doubled. And once again, you know, the wording, the special wording on the card only comes into effect really when you're playing with multiple players instead of just 2. Well, I guess I'll just put out another Husk here. Wild Boar is not drawing lands, but he's almost got 3 zombies out there, so he can maybe get the Crypt Breaker going and get his card draw going. Suppose I could attack with a 2/2 Husk, but I would have to sacrifice 2 creatures if he blocks with the 4/3, so probably not going to have any attacks this turn. I mean, if I sacrificed 2 creatures, the Husk would be a 6/6, and then I could take him out, but I don't want to sacrifice 2 creatures just at the moment. Okay, yeah, he's going to try to kill something here. Bummer. He's going to try to take out Wild Boar's zombie. Nothing I can do about that. So that's unfortunate. That was a start to finish, by the way, that card. He sacrificed one of his own creatures to kill an opponent's creature, similar to Bone Shards, I guess. But it costs more, so Bone Shards is probably the better option. And the other opponent's going to draw a card. Let's see if he decides to attack. Didn't really have any good attacks. There we go. Got bone splinters, I should say, not bone shards. Thinking of a different card. Oh, here we go with the sacrifice zombie. He's got that in his deck too, huh? I'll just do one to his face. Oh, and he enabled Revolt for Fatal Push. So nice play there by Wild Boar. Sacrificing his own small zombie to, I guess I'll get back my Goblin Arsonist, since I don't really have anything else valuable or going on right now. So yeah, that was a pretty nice use of Fatal Push there, sacrificing your own creature, and he enabled Revolt to kill the opponent's bigger creature. So our opponent is in trouble. And yeah, technically I think I could end the turn. I could end the game next turn. That's how powerful Ignition is. We'll see what he plays here. Yeah, that 5/3 can be annoying because it's got that shield on it. Anything that targets it gets cancelled pretty much. That's what the shield is. It's a unique ability that I think is only on that creature. I haven't seen it on very many other cards in Magic. In fact, I don't think I've seen it on any other cards except for that 5/3 Sphinx flyer there. So if Wild Boar does Fatal Push on the 5/3, Fatal Push will fizzle, of course. He's going to make a zombie token and get his Crypt Breaker out there. But yeah, if he plays Fatal Push, then I can, because I can't use Bone Splinters on that 5/3 to kill it, because if I use Bone Splinters, it'll just get cancelled. And of course, Fatal Push isn't going to work because the creature's so big, but by targeting something with Fatal Push, it removes the shield, and now I can do Bone Splinters. I'll just sacrifice my skeleton here, kill the 5/3, and then I can bring my skeleton back from the graveyard. But yeah, actually, we could have won. We pretty much could have won that turn. But it was kind of fun to show off that teamwork interaction there. See if he tries to block any of my 2/2s. He's thinking about it. Nope, that's not going to end well for you. We'll just sacrifice this 2/1 to make a Scion here. So yeah, these husks are pretty nice. You can attack pretty much unopposed, and the opponent's gonna... You just turn it into a chump block, basically. But yeah, I think I'll go ahead and show Ignition here, and we'll end the game. But I did want to show off some team plays there that you can do, you know, with targeting and whatnot. Of course, Wild Boar can draw cards anytime he wants, since he has 3 zombies with his Crypt Breaker. But yeah, see, Chandra's Ignition, target creature we control deals its damage, you know, according to its power, to all other creatures and all opponents. So it's basically a board wipe, but it leaves the one creature that you're targeting with it. And then afterward, you can attack with that creature. So what you do in this deck is you use the Husk, which I'm going to use, and you basically sacrifice all of your creatures with one Husk, making it really big, and then just put Chandra's Ignition on it. And that'll kill pretty much everything on the board, as well as that number to your opponent times 2, because there are 2 opponents. So it's incredibly powerful. And that's why it's in the deck. It can pretty much be a finisher. So it looks like a Wild Boar is going to go ahead and use Crypt Breaker to draw some extra cards. Anguished Unmaking, it's always good to have. And another Amalgam. Oh man, tough choice. If I put Pia and Kira and Nalar out there, then I'll have even more cannon fodder. But you know what, let's just go ahead and do it this turn. So we're going to show it off here. So with this one husk, I'm going to sacrifice everything. So it's a 6/6. Now it's an 8/8. And we're going to make it a 10/10. And then we're going to do Chandra's Ignition on it, which will do 10 damage to everything except for this one 10/10 creature. So sadly you will wipe your opponent's board also, so keep that in mind. Wild Boar is doing his Crypt Breaker again here to draw. He doesn't need to, because that pretty much did 10 damage to everything, and of course to both opponents. So that was 20 damage to the opponent's face, because there were two opponents, and so it did 10 to each, so that was 20 damage. So not to be underestimated. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun in a two-headed giant. So, GG Wild Boar. Sorry for killing all your zombies, man, but we won the game. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed this gameplay video of Magic Duels. Check out the Sacrifice deck. It's a lot of fun. Can be mortifying for the opponent, but it's still a lot of fun. Check out my main channel, East Guru Japan Gaming, for lots of other content. We'll see you next time.